We're back talking about Kathleen Kennedy not leaving as Lucasfilm boss, but eventually, maybe announcing her departure by the end of the year within the next couple of months, and how through gritted teeth she had to admit that, all of that reporting from Matt Belloni was ostensibly true. It's just, I didn't want all of that information that's out there, and yeah, we have a plan that's been going on for years, but no, we just came to this conclusion recently, and all of that contradictory crap. It's almost like there was a late night phone call to a very amenable source, only to just hastily put together an interview that would somehow convince a few shills that everything is all well over at Lucasfilm. But they're just simply looking over everything, realizing that, oh yeah, Puck News was right. Lucasfilm is in total disaster, and Kathleen Kennedy, well, she's still a hack when everything's all said and done. But Kathleen Kennedy potentially leaving Star Wars becomes a media battleground as Puck's Matt Belloni and Deadline's Mike Fleming Jr. trade blows. Yeah, because it was interesting. It was very interesting. We went over a lot of the interview between Kennedy and Deadline. Okay, Mike Fleming Jr., who conducted the glazing. And of course, over the weekend, as many other people went over it, things kicked up a notch. Okay, what makes this clash particularly entertaining is both reporters seem to be saying the exact same thing, just in wildly different ways. On one side, Belloni is doubling down as a report that, yes, Kennedy is set to leave Lucasfilm by the end of 2025. On the other hand, yes, Fleming is acting as Kennedy's personal hype man, insisting she's in control of the situation, even though, despite Kennedy herself confirming a leadership transition is in motion. Yeah, we're getting Bob and Alan. We're all getting people together, Michael, and we're getting ready to announce something in a month or about a year. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. We're right at the beginning of a year, and Puck News had it that she's going to be stepping aside at the end of the year. So it almost seems like everything is lining up there. But it all started when Deadline's Mike Fleming Jr. published an astonishingly fawning interview, yes, with Kathleen Kennedy. Fleming attacked Belloni personally, dismissing his reporting as some kind of vendetta against Kennedy. Belloni for years has been beating on Kennedy like she owes him money, despite Belloni, yes, in his initial report giving Kennedy props for her accomplishments in the film industry. Yeah, like getting her name in some of the biggest blockbusters ever, but also contributing very little on the creative side. Like, she's a producer. Okay, she got coffee. She made sure that, the actual creatives were well taken care of. Okay, cool. She has a warm mouth and soft hands. Fantastic. Okay, I guess that's what you need in order to make it in the biz. Okay. He then dismissed the idea that Kennedy was being pushed out, despite her own admission that succession planning, yes, has been happening for years. The takeaway was chaos and that Kennedy was being pushed. The reality is different and far more orderly. Fleming then pivoted to an extended career obituary, yes, disguised as a defense. Sorry, Matt, the woman is a first ballot Hall of Famer. For what? Being on the set of Raiders, okay, setting up Spielberg's chair so we could look over the film for E.T. Like what else, okay? And especially over the past decade and change that she's been in charge of Lucasfilm, like first ballot Hall of Famer. If Ichiro couldn't even get universal approval to get into the Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer, don't make me fucking blush. And if that wasn't enough, then you have CNN, okay, the most trusted name in news, running with a story, also trying to lionize Kathleen Kennedy. Like, this stuff is just, it's so wild, man. CNN, Kathleen Kennedy source revealed. News Network reportedly fed a PR spin from Kennedy's publicist and reported it as news. Oh, really? CNN took another credibility hit this week. How many more can they withstand before they just eventually close up shop? Well, spoilers for something a little bit later. I don't think anybody really wants to take on the name of CNN. If we're going to be completely honest, I don't think there's any buyers out there. And seemingly, yes, a ran defense for Kathleen Kennedy in what now appears to have been a blatant PR move, according to information shared by Puck's Matt Belloni. The network published an article contradicting Puck's report that Kennedy is planning to exit from her Lucasfilm. From Lucasfilm, citing a vague anonymous source close to the situation who claims that there is nothing there right now. Now, Belloni has exposed exactly who that source likely was: Kennedy's personal publicist, Simon Halls. Really? It raises a glaring issue. If Belloni's report is accurate, that means CNN got tricked into running spin for Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, is it really that much of a shock? I mean, look at how much spin they run for everybody else that they're amenable to. not exactly all that surprising. It's just, don't you recall at the beginning of last year who CNN also put on in order to push their own Star Wars related agenda? Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, who is right there front and center. It's about time that a woman is in control of Star Wars. Picture not related, but hilarious, right? Like, she went on CNN. Okay, what's with this open pipeline between Lucasfilm and CNN that I'm not quite seeing there? Okay, because that's a Disney company. Okay, Disney company getting the red carpet treatment from a Warner Brothers owned property. That's very strange, at least as far as I can tell. In Belloni's latest rebuttal of Deadline's Mike Fleming Jr., who ran an embarrassingly sycophantic interview with Kennedy to push back against Puck's reporting, Belloni revealed a critical detail about the PR machine behind the scenes. Partial blame here goes to Kennedy's personal publicist, Simon Halls, who has been busy this week spinning journalists that Kathy's timetable is all speculative and there's nothing new here. That language is eerily identical to what CNN's source close to the situation told the network when they attempted to contradict Puck's report. There's nothing there right now, was the direct quote CNN cited. If Belloni is correct, and given his deep industry connections, it's hard to imagine he's wrong. This means CNN wasn't reporting news, they were publishing PR spin directly from Kennedy's team without disclosing the source's agenda. But yeah, no, she's a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's why all of the wagons are starting to circle around her that no, she's going to be there for however long she wants. And in her own words in that interview, I'm going to die making movies. I'm going to die killing off what's left of Star Wars. The Force is a pathway to many abilities some may deem to be unnatural, and that will keep me in this position for as long as I goddamn well want it. That is the face of an idiot who has driven the most lucrative cinematic franchise of all time, never to be rivaled, never again. Will we see an upstart IP reach the levels of popularity that Star Wars did? Okay, I do not see this. Okay, there was at one point in time, okay, Star Wars was synonymous with popularity. What was a film, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's the greatest thing ever, or you just think of it as like, yeah, that's neat, and I can kind of see why, it caught on at the time when it was released. Okay, everybody had seen bits or pieces, or multiple times over. Everybody had seen Star Wars in some form or fashion. It was the thing. I've said it before and I'll say it again because I'm not a fraud and I'm not a shill for anything. If I tell you I like something, it's because I have firsthand information, I have firsthand knowledge of liking that thing. I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan, okay? I have seen the prequels, I have seen the OT, I'm never going to watch the sequels. I have respect for what the OT's done back in the cut. The film that I've probably seen the most might be it's probably Attack of the Clones, or it's Return of the Jedi. It's probably the second half of Return of the Jedi. But I've really got to run those films back just to make sure. It's like, yeah, no, okay, I respect Star Wars, A New Hope, okay. I like Empire quite a bit. I think it's obviously the best. I know, breaking new ground on this one. And then Return, there's like half a good movie there. But still, I get it. In 77, there was nothing like Star Wars when it first came out. And the twist at the end of Empire is still referenced to this very day as the quintessential way to do a cliffhanger and to also blow the minds of your audience. Nothing like that has ever been duplicated in the 45 years since? Holy shit. That's wild. And the franchise is, on the doorstep. It's 48 years old. It's on the doorstep of its 50th anniversary. And what does it have to show for it? It's gotten to a point now where now there's rumors that Disney is putting Star Wars up for sale. But guess what? Nobody wants it. That is a wild indictment. That's one of those things where, okay, just forgive me for being cliched for a moment, but if you were to tell me 10, 15 years ago that if Star Wars ever got put up for sale, that nobody would want to buy it, I wouldn't believe you. But it's true. It's true. Star Wars was a money printing machine. If Disney did nothing with it over the past 10 years, it would still be a never-ending money pit. They could just continue to milk the OT and even the prequels, because even though people like to paint them as, they were hated at the time, it's the exact same way that they say, Empire wasn't received very well back in 1980, when you can just go back and take a look at the reviews and everybody was over the moon about it. And okay, that's not no moon. That's just a Ray's round head. But as somebody who was the perfect age, and all of my friends, okay, like my best friends growing up, they were big Star Wars fans. It's just so wild how it just never, crossed over to what I liked. But regardless, I remember the hype for Phantom Menace, and then specifically for Revenge of the Sith. I was 9 and 15 when those films came out, respectively, and yeah, that shit was everywhere. It was huge. Even still, in the convening years, people were begging for more Star Wars content. At best, you would get people going, yeah, the prequels were a little bit flumpy, but nobody outright hated them. The idea that these were just, there's these unforgivable disasters of cinema never really manifest in public consciousness. As a reason why, when The Force Awakens came out, it made $2 billion at the box office because of what George built all of those years ago. And now, here we are, on the doorstep of the 10-year anniversary of TFA, and apparently nobody wants Star Wars. That is so wild. Like I said, there's a money printing machine, and now it's a cow that's built like Ariana Grande. That shit is on death's door, bro. Chris Gore reports, yes, Disney has been trying to sell Star Wars for 7 months. What? Really? So like right after the Acolyte rolled up, huh? That's interesting, but no one will buy it. Now, Film Threat seeks additional information. Well, what do you have right now? A new rumor has surfaced from Film Threat's Chris Gore and Alan Ng, suggesting that Disney has been quietly looking to sell Star Wars for the past 7 months, but reportedly, there have been no takers. Well, maybe they're just asking way too much for it, or is Disney also trying to bundle in the rest of the dilapidated IPs from Lucasfilm? Like, what are we dealing with? Gore, who has, industry connections outside the media sphere, claims a trusted source from the financial sector informed him that Disney has been putting out feelers to gauge interest in selling Star Wars, or potentially Lucasfilm as a whole. Yeah, because it's like, well, Star Wars is definitely the driver, okay? Like, if Disney just wanted to sit on Indiana Jones and Willow and Howard the Duck, it's like, without Star Wars, it's like Lucasfilm is... It goes part and parcel. Like, okay. However, despite months of searching, the entertainment giant has allegedly failed to secure an interested buyer. Oof. Gore was careful, to clarify that this information comes from a single source and remains unconfirmed. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay, but just floating this out there. However, he decided to bring up the rumor in light of the hopes of encouraging others within the industry to corroborate or provide additional details. This is from a friend who is not in the nerd space, but in the YouTube... Oh, I'm sorry, not in the nudes... YouTube space, words, not a media person. This is a friend in the world of finance, okay, a trusted individual who says for 7 months they have put out feelers about selling Star Wars. It remains unclear whether Disney is looking to sell entire Star Wars brand, Lucasfilm as a whole, or just select assets. Given Disney's deep integration with Star Wars through Disney Plus, theme park attractions, merchandise, and licensing deals, any potential sale would likely be complex. Well, yeah, exactly, okay. The most surprising aspect of the rumor isn't just that Disney may be looking to part with the franchise it acquired from George Lucas for $4 billion. It's that, according to Gore's source, there are no interested buyers. Gore emphasized they have been shopping it for 7 months and can't find a buyer. I'm wondering if they aren't just looking at licensing deals, getting other people to make a product that, at least from the outside looking in, seems to be a complete and total slam dunk. Like, make it a good Star Wars show. I mean, there are so many different genres that you could put this stuff in. You could have a really cool detective show, like what we probably should have got out of The Acolyte instead of just that intersectional nonsense, which, oh my god, it shows a cancer on the brand, one of which they're never going to be able to properly and fully excise. And then, yeah, if that Patty Jenkins movie ever gets off the ground, you could have like a Top Gun style Rogue Squadron film. That would be sweet. Like, there's so many different ways that you can do this, and that's what the EU did so exceptionally well in the time when the movies weren't being made, and they just filled in the gaps in a bunch of different areas where, yeah, you had your young Jedi Adventures books to cater to a younger teen audience. You had your more serious Heir to the Empire stuff for the people that wanted the continuation of the the proper Skywalker story, not some Palpatine at the end of a 9-arc saga that just usurps the name Skywalker as everybody boos the film out of the theaters. It's really not difficult to make a Star Wars project. It's just Disney is incapable of doing it, and maybe they're putting out feelers, okay, but they also know that there's a good possibility, okay. Instead of buying right now or what they could perceive to be a low, we know that you have a bunch of other films announced. We know that you have a bunch of other contracts theoretically signed. So yeah, we'll just go go ahead and let you guys release all of that crap. You go ahead and finance all of that garbage. And the moment that all of that stuff continues to fail and falter, I don't imagine that the Mandalorian and Grogu film makes anything north of $400 million, which tomorrow we'll probably have to take a look at something else that's not going to break $400 million. But when you see categorical flops like that coming out of Star Wars, okay, with no other way to explain it other than oopsie daisy, the brand is dead, then you're going to start to have the vulture circle, and you will be begging, you will be pleading, you will be crying for that $4 billion back. But guess what? It's never coming. You're going to have to sell off Star Wars at a loss, and that's about the only time that you can have faith that Kathleen Kennedy will actually be fucking leaving. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.